What is going on, everybody? So I am back today to talk about a film that I'd heard the title of and seen the poster a few times, but actually the reason I checked it out was I think I was on TikTok or YouTube or something, and I saw Letterboxd was doing an interview. I think it was at like the Infinity Pool premiere or like one of those places, and Alexander Skarsgård said this was one of the best movies that he'd watched in a while, and so I decided to sit down and check it out. And the movie I'm going to be discussing today is Nitram. Nitram is directed by Justin Kurzel. Based on true events, Nitram lives with his parents in suburban Australia in the mid-90s. He lives a life of isolation and frustration at never fitting in. As his anger grows, he begins a slow descent into a nightmare that culminates into the most heinous of acts. I had no idea this was based on a true story when I watched the movie. I just thought that it was a drama, a familial drama, and this movie was incredible. It also gutted me in the worst way imaginable. And I think it really opens up a lot of interesting ideas involved with mental health and the way that mental health is perceived and the way that we as a society don't do a good enough job at watching out for specific little things that could trigger a person to do the most awful and horrible things imaginable. So as the film description states, you have Nitram, or Martin, played by Caleb Landry Jones, who Nitram is the nickname that everyone gives to him, which I think you find out at some point in the movie has negative connotations attached to it. That he lives with his parents at home. His dad is trying to like get this house to where he can start like a cattle farm. He lives there with him and his mom, and their life seems kind of mundane and plain and awful to where you're just watching it, and every single day of existence must just feel absolutely miserable. And he's out of school. He doesn't really have a lot going on. He's like outside in his backyard shooting off fireworks in the middle of the evening and making the neighbors really irritated. And so most of the film is we're seeing him interact with these people, and it's never explicitly stated whether he has some form of like mental health issue or like learning disability or anything, but it's almost implied through the way that he acts, because he acts very childlike for a person his age. And his parents don't really do the best job of keeping an eye on him or making sure that he's doing the things that he's supposed to be doing or trying to make something of his life or anything. And we all get to that point in our lives, I think, where depression hits and we don't want to do anything. But it's almost like they kind of push him out and don't really focus enough attention. So he's out like trying to start a lawn mowing business at one point. He's trying to do all of these different things. He ends up meeting this woman, Helen, played by Essie Davis, who she was like a former stage performer or something, and she's incredibly wealthy, but she lives in this dilapidated mansion with her like 9 dogs. And so he comes over one day and he says, "Hey, can I mow your lawn?" And she's like, "Sure, it does look kind of bad, doesn't it?" And he goes out and he can't get the lawnmower started, and he gets really frustrated. And she looks and says, "Hey, would you want to walk my babies for me?" And he's like, "Sure." So he starts walking her dogs for him, and the two of them start bonding, and he ends up moving out of his parents' house to live with her. And the film follows the series of events that occur after that lead to this insane, depressing, horrible third act that I obviously did not know was based off true events till I was done watching the movie. And this is brilliant because I think that it really taps into this whole idea of mental health and physical health and the correlation between those two things, and how if people don't pay close enough attention to someone's mental health, that something horrible can happen. And I think that the director does a really great job at painting this character as someone who is misunderstood, that has lived their life in a way that like they just don't find any joy in anything, and that their parents don't really do a good job of getting them mental health help. There's this really incredible scene in the movie that was really just kind of eye-opening to me, that they were in like a doctor's office trying to get prescriptions written for Caleb Landry Jones's antidepressants. And the doctor's trying to say like, "Hey, you know, it might really benefit you to sit down and go to a therapist and to talk to someone about this." And the mom was like, "He doesn't need that. He just needs the pills. Just write him the pills." And the parent thinking that they know what's better for the kid than what the kid knows for themselves. And that was really heartbreaking, because there are a lot of moments like that in people's lives. And, you know, when horrible, awful things occur that people do, I think the first thing we want to jump to is just that, like, the person is absolutely horrible and evil, which in a lot of cases, that is the case. People are just hateful and horrible. But in some circumstances, people have mental health damage that is just, it needs to be taken care of and it needs to be addressed. And you think about how many senseless acts of violence could be prohibited if we actually just looked at mental health as a whole and paid more attention to it and tried to tackle things head on rather than just push things by the wayside and ignore them until the very last minute. And I thought this movie really did a fascinating job at looking at those elements and understanding those elements in a way that I think a lot of directors would be afraid to tackle that. The closest to this I can think of in recent memory is the Lynn Ramsey film We Need to Talk About Kevin, which I think handles this subject matter in an equally incredible and well executed way. Lynn is one of my favorite directors, and that is really what this movie reminded me of. Equally as well handled. The cinematography is beautiful. It's very uncomfortable. The atmosphere throughout the entire movie really makes you feel uneasy from the first frame to the last frame. And it was just a really great experience that is haunting. Caleb Landry Jones steals the show. What a phenomenal performance, like from start to finish. And this is a movie that won't be leaving my mind for a really long time. So have you seen Nitram? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was fantastic. Really disturbing, uncomfortable, unsettling, amazing performances. Just definitely one I'd recommend checking out. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.